This is a love letter to Rainbow Six Siege. I love this game, and I want to tell you why. So, I previously to Rainbow Six Siege, I've been bouncing around a few games. I guess the last one I was really into would be PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, PUBG, and I played that game a lot. But I found that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, even when I was playing really, really well, the vast majority of the game, I'm talking like 80%, was running. Just running here, running there, going to go pick up guns, running into. There was a whole bunch of times where the circle would be getting smaller and smaller, and I would just find myself literally running to the center of the circle. And it sucked. It was just not fun. And even the best parts of the game were when I found myself in proximity with another player and we were paired fairly evenly with weapons. Because that does happen pretty often in the beginning of the game, where you drop down in a parachute, but often the case is that they're either unarmed or you're unarmed, and the other person has a gun. And in that case, it's not really that fun. You're just kind of jumping around trying to avoid this person from knocking your head off. And then after that, it turns into this very disparate, maybe that's the term, running game where you're miles away from the other players. And frankly, that just kind of sucked. But when it was good, it was really good. And I love the moments where we would kind of be stalking each other. The best parts of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds were when I would be in, the best moments were when I would be inside an apartment building and I could hear the other player walking around either on the floor above me or in the other room. And I was also creeping, and maybe he knew I was there, or maybe he didn't. And I would sneak up behind him and like do an attack, or we'd face off and have some sort of attack. I remember my favorite moment in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was when I saw there was this guy kind of shooting out of a window. And I knew if I broke into the house that he would hear me enter. And I think the sound in that game is just fantastic. So I timed my attack with the sound of the lightning. And the second the lightning crashed, that's the same moment that I crashed through the window. And then I was able to very easily sneak up and kill him. So that was awesome, and I felt like such a badass. But those moments were super rare. And what I found is that Rainbow Six Siege, every match is made of those moments. Every match, I'm in this sort of intimate scenario where this person might be literally on the other wall, on the other side of the wall from me. And we're both listening to each other, like trying to, pull out those 2,000 IQ plays and maybe do a wall bang, shoot them through the wall, or anticipate when they're going to peek out from the end. And that's perfect because it kind of just, it zooms in with laser focus on the best parts, in my opinion, of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And I love that. It's been an amazing experience, and I find that every game is packed to the brim with that action. Additionally, the session lengths are very, very well timed. I'm going into the session, and it's probably only going to take maybe 3 minutes, or sometimes much less than that, because you are starting already in the room, already kind of hunkered down, and you get this kind of prep phase, and that's fantastic. But the enemy is upon you within only a few minutes, and there's never like very long waiting. And whenever there is waiting, you can opt in to combat. So you can always, let's say, aggressively peek, or you never feel like you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like there was parts in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds where I was literally in the middle of a cornfield just running. And sure, maybe there was a guy next to me, maybe there wasn't, but you never feel like that in Siege. You always feel like you're a moment away from the action, and that the enemy can literally be behind any corner. And they often are. What else? I didn't like that you had to pick up the weapons. I still think that whole mechanic in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is just onerous. And they completely take it away in the mobile version, which I think was a good move. Honestly, it's not fun, inventory management, and they don't make it fun. When I played Fortnite, which I haven't played a lot of, I've played maybe once or twice with my brother, they did a way better job of making the weapon pickup seem sexy and seem really juicy and awesome. And the colorization and classes of the weapon helps to define, like, wow, this gun's way better. Where, likewise, that's kind of the same situation in PUBG, but I feel like there's less, I guess, of a clear, better weapon in Siege. Now, I don't play every operator, but what I do find is that when I go into an operator, they're often... What? I'm in the middle of a video.
Do you know what I think? If
I can't pause it. I don't know how to do that.
Do you know how to edit?
Yeah, I'll try. What's going on?
Okay, so Matthew, if Miles, if you can't sell this one, then Miles will take it. He wants it.
Miles doesn't need a laptop that good. I'll talk to Mom.
He wants to play games, he said.
Okay, I'll talk to Mom. See ya. Okay, so where was I?
Can we set up the later screens?
Yeah. Right, so as I was saying, before my brother came down, Fortnite, it was just amazing to pick up the weapons. It felt much better, and it felt like, wow, like I've got the cool gun. In Siege, it doesn't necessarily feel like there is one gun that's better than the rest. I feel like each of the operators kind of have their own twist on things. Like Glaz is a very specialized attack, and Vigil with his shotgun, it's kind of its own thing. And I do feel like there's a wide differentiation. Like when I'm playing, the two characters I play a lot are Ela, Thermite, and Blitz. And I find that those three characters have very different movesets, very different strategies, like how you play the game, and I love that. It feels very different. I feel like when I was playing Fortnite or PUBG, what I was supposed to do was kind of determined. And I hate it when games are like that. Like when I play League of Legends, it feels exactly like that. Like it feels very well defined of like, well, you got to do your creep shots, and then you got to poke the enemy with your E or whatever, right? And it's not fun. It doesn't feel like I can kind of do my own thing and kind of explore what it means, like, I don't know, to kind of have some style. And in Siege, you could do whatever the hell you want. And like, it's still viable strategy. You can stick in the room, and you could pick operators that are going to support that. So you can kind of hunker down. I forget what that's called. Anchoring, maybe that's it. So you're kind of watching your angles and not moving too much. But I do find that I get a little claustrophobic often when that happens. So what I prefer to do is try to take characters that roam a little bit, which means I leave the situation room, and I kind of walk around a little bit, trying to preemptively attack the enemy. And I like that, and it's a really good fit for me, and it keeps me engaged, but if I want to fall back, I could do that as well. And really the point that I love is you can play it your own way, and that feels amazing. It feels great. Yeah. It seems like everybody has their own to-do list when they get into the situation room as an attacker. Even as a defender, actually. If I'm going in, I could play Thermite, and my role is pretty determined, you know, I've got to break through a hard breach. And if I'm playing as Blitz, I'm kind of there to scope out the scene a little bit more, try and play a little more aggressively and get them to shoot the shield. But to be honest, I'm a very timid player, so I don't know if to do, I think, as good a job as I can for that one. And yeah, it feels great. I want to talk a little bit about the teamwork now. So I also played this game. I love this game called Battlefield. And Battlefield has certainly lost its way recently with Battlefield 5, which I just played, and I was very disappointed. But when I think about the glory days, Bad Company, Battlefield 2, those games came down to squad teamwork. And it was all about the squad, and there was a real relationship between the medic and the engineer, etc. That's exactly how it feels in Siege, but if anything, magnified. It feels like we're working in unison, and you can definitely tell when like people are making their call-outs correctly and they're dropping pings. It just feels great. The other thing is that the community, it's just an amazing community. I feel like, I don't know what it is. Maybe, I think it's that these Battle Royale games and streamers have kind of taken the younger crowd. Because I will admit, I'm a bit ageist when it comes to who I prefer to play with. I have a strong preference to playing with people who are sort of in their 20s to 30s. Because I find that the younger crowd, I don't know. Maybe it's just, I find that they try to scream a lot. You know, this is a very small thing, but I notice when adults rage quit, what's the first thing they do? They pull off the headset and then they maybe scream or something, right? But that's a sign of respect. So I don't have the, what they call ear rape, right? I know that's a terrible term. But, yeah, I don't know. I like playing with the older crowd. I find that people are super receptive to feedback as I am learning new things and I'm trying to pass that forward. People are really respectful of that. And also, like, everybody's pretty down to work as a team. I haven't found that, like, there's a lot of people who just want to go solo, like, screw the man. If I say something like, hey, I need you to back me up here, like, people are really supportive. And as someone who mostly just solo queues, I find that's great. It's a really good feel. Another thing on Battlefield was destructible environments. Now, I know they're moving away from that a bit, and that really sucks. But Siege has a ton of destructible environments, and it's really up to you how you want to customize the playing field. In Battlefield 5, you could put down sandbags, and that seemed really gimmicky. In Fortnite, you can build these structures, and I love that. That sounds really fun, and I can't do it so well because I've only played a game or two. But I've seen other people do it, and it's really cool, the fights they get into. Though sometimes it's a little reductive of, like, just building up and up and up and up. But what can you say? In Siege, you can poke holes through walls and kind of use them as little peeky holes. The new Maverick character can even do that in hard breach walls, which is so exciting and very interesting. There's also an amazing element of vertical gameplay, vertical gunplay in particular, which I have not seen in any other game like this. Literally shooting through the floorboards at someone who might be 1 or even 2 floors below you through the little cracks in the floor. Wow, it's crazy, and it's really incredible. The angles that you get on these people, it feels great. It feels like every little micrometer is a world of difference, and I love that. It's so tactile, the combat. Other moments. So we're talking about the small increments, and you know what I've realized? I can play Siege on my Xbox controller. Now, I know a lot of people make fun of me for that because, well, frankly, the Xbox controller is not as good, right? If people want to play on, Master Race PC, get the keyboard and mouse set up. And in PUBG, I could not compete on my controller. Not at all. Because I think it was that the delta of the angles with respect to where I was aiming versus where someone might appear, and I have to switch to them and shoot them, I just couldn't do it with a controller. I had to use my mouse to get that level of action. But with Siege, I have found that since a vast majority of it is kind of looking down lines of sight, and the gameplay, I wouldn't say it's slower, but I think it's much more methodical. As a result of that, I feel very comfortable playing with the controller, and I don't feel like I'm at a vast disadvantage against the other players. And let me preface all of what I've said by saying I'm playing in casual, which is not the ranked hardcore matches. So I'm not a ranked player, and I'm definitely not there yet. I've dropped in for a few matches, and I did get my butt kicked. But I had a lot of fun, and the people were really supportive. And that's great. It's really great. So yeah, I feel like I can kind of go in with a controller. And why do I use the controller? Just because it feels a lot more comfortable. I hate the way my fingers start to feel like carpal tunnel. They start to get a little, like, I don't know, the joints get sticky when I'm playing on the keyboard. So that's why I prefer the controller. Oh, thank you. All right, I'll look at this. Mail time. What else? YOLO, the One Life gameplay. It's so good. It's so good. It reminds me of Search and Destroy in Modern Warfare. That was the big game I would play. That was kind of one life, one kill. Or one life, whatever, YOLO. And that felt really good. And a big part of it is just when you die, the team's with you. And they're watching you, and they're trying to support you. But in Siege, they've really leveraged that, and I think that's such a smart move. So now, when you go into your Siege battle, and you die, there's a lot that you can do. It's not like you're just dead. You can go to the different cameras that are set up all throughout the map, and you can look at the people and to give call-outs, tell people where the enemies are. And that way, even though you're dead, you can provide a reasonable intel, and you're still engaged in the game. And I think that provides, that's like huge. And I think it's an issue that we all face, right? As game developers, figuring out what are they going to do in those loading times, what are they going to do when they're dead in those dead periods. And Siege has just nailed it. I have not found another game that does it that well. It's incredible how well, I guess, they use the player that's dead and not active in the scene. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other things. Droning. So on the topic of cameras, they split up their rounds into sort of a droning round where you can go and gather intel, and then, the full attack stage. And you can also drone while in the attack, and I find that provides a really nice balance between the visceral gunplay, because the fact that you only got one life, if you are in engagement with someone, it's pretty serious. And the droning work helps to, I don't know, it helps to really counter that, and you get a full palette of kind of just this, searching kind of situation, and then a destroying kind of situation. So I like that. I like the game modes. I think that bomb and yeah, I think that bomb's probably the best one. It's got the most, I guess, interesting aspects of it, and there's a lot of clutch plays where you can kind of well, I just played a game where there was, I don't know, it was about 3 enemies, and I had 2, it was about 3v3, let's say. And the 3 enemies were across the room, engaging with my allies through a window. And I usually like to flank. I like to kind of go my own way. And I went with Blitz, so obviously you don't know. It's clear that I'm not playing very well if I'm going solo with Blitz. And that's okay, though. So they're fighting through this window, and I have the bomb. So I sneak in through the window, and I go down, and I plant, and then I pop out, and they actually kill all of my allies. So now it's just 3 enemies and me. And I drop in my smoke grenade, and they run over to defuse the bomb, but I'm out the window, so they can't get me so well. And I do 1 peek, and I headshot the guy who's currently defusing the bomb. And that leaves them not enough time to defuse the bomb because it had been so many seconds. And it was just an amazing play, and everybody cheered for me. And I just had a great moment, And I've had that so many times. I mean, not that exact play, but so many awesome little stories that I can tell about how I shot this guy through the window, or dropped the perfect pulse charge and did an amazing wall bang, or how I remember there was one scene where I poked this little hole in the wall and I killed like 3 people through this one little hole. It's awesome, man. It's awesome, all the emergent stories there. And even though I played a game like, I don't know, Halo, way more, I feel like there hasn't been as many stories where you can kind of, I guess, have your own experience and kind of build up your custom gameplay situation. There's also a lot of ways to just style out in this game. So they have a ton of microtransactions, which are there for unlocking operators, which is a great skew from a business standpoint because it provides a real, I guess, a feel for what that operator's like. If there was one thing I would do different, it would be trial mode. You should be able to have, I guess how they do in League of Legends. They've done this really well, where they have the weekly rotation of you get a free hero every every week a season. They should do the same thing with Siege. I think that would motivate some purchases. So that would be my feedback there. Rotating kind of player of the week or whatever. So that's something to consider. And what else? I don't know. I think that's it for now. It's a great game. It's such a good game. Oh, and one other thing I really like is the community online. There is a ton of YouTubers who are talking about the game, giving tutorials on the game, and just, weekly memes on the game and silly stuff. And I think that's great. I love it because I do interact with sort of the secondary and tertiary media when it comes to an IP like this. And I love to, see people do these amazing 2000 IQ plays right on YouTube or something and get inspired and, go into the match and like try to be like one of my heroes. that definitely speaks to me. I like the streamers. Though I don't watch any streamers live. I just like the, let's say, the clips, you know, the best parts. And it was a similar situation with PUBG. In addition to microtransactions that I said were awesome for the operators, and I think those are fairly well spaced out. It does seem like a bit of a grind for 2,000 or 25,000, sorry, 2,500 renown, but it feels good. I definitely feel like I earned it when I get it, and it doesn't feel too far. So I'm pretty happy with how that relationship is. I'm saving up right now to get my next character. And the first one I got, Ella, I was very happy with her. I love her gun, and I'm just feeling like such a badass running around with that character. Other moments. But the other thing is weapon customizations. You know, they have a whole bunch of loot crates, essentially, and different weapon skins, and there's, you know, rares and legendaries or whatever. And though I personally wouldn't buy any of those, or maybe I would, I don't know. At this point, I haven't. They feel good, and it's cool to see somebody with a dope gun or a cool little token on the side of their gun. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for that. And another thing on style, the way that you go about killing people, there's a lot of like, in Doom, they did a really good job with glory kills, and I like that. But it was, it's not really user authoritated. Like, you push the button and then he kills him however he wants to kill him. You know, the Doomslayer. But in this game, if you want to go for like some crazy kill, you could do it, you know? And we see it all the time. So someone might throw an impact grenade at someone on the floor and like, boom, you're supposed to like, you know, you're dunking on them. Or there is a term to dunk on someone. And if you dunk on someone, that's when you're on a floor that is breakable and you shoot down, breaking the floor, dropping down onto them with bullets spraying and nailing them in the head. So I've seen that happen, and it's pretty crazy, man. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, so I like that as well. With Blitz, when I play Blitz, I can occasionally get the shield bash, and sometimes I've like knocked down like 3 people with the shield bash. Well, I've knocked down 2 people, I think, in one round with the shield bash, and that feels awesome because it does feel like I'm kind of like, you know, dunking on them in that sense. I don't know what the what the terminology is, but you know, I'm kind of I don't know what the term is, but I'm basically like showing them my skills, you know, kind of screwing them up. I don't know what the terminology is, some slang. But the point is, you know, I like kind of styling on them, dunking on them, I guess that's the term. Yeah, so that feels great. And I totally recommend you play it. It's such a good game. There's even a free-to-play option, and I think that was a super smart move. And it's got a very committed development team. They're constantly pushing out patches, and they have worked this game from a real stack of poop to a very shiny ball of poop, and maybe something greater. So this game has come a long way, and I think that's a tell sign of a team that really cares about the product you're putting out, and I think that's evident. We just saw a recent announcement that they're going to block people with an insta-ban if they do team killing, and team killing is pretty bad in casual. It's kind of annoying. But I think that's great. It's clear they're listening to the community, and that means a lot to me as a player because it tells me this is a game worth investing time in because it's one that's going to grow. There's probably going to be more operators soon. I've heard the rumors about the Moroccan operators, and already there's Clash and Maverick, and they've already like, woo! Whoa, man. They've changed up the meta so much, and it's so exciting to see how people are playing that and to kind of watch out for that, and man, I'm just feeling it. I'm really in love with this game. I recommend it. I think it's an amazing game, and I think you should check it out. I think you'd really enjoy it. If you haven't, if you're watching this video, you probably have already, and hopefully you agree with some of these points, and if you disagree, let me know, you know, where I'm blowing smoke, because I'd love to get better, and I've got a lot of work to do. I'm pretty far away from where I want to be, skill level wise, but it feels great, and even though sometimes I play a really shitty round, sometimes it feels shitty, but sometimes it still feels good, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here for even a player who's not so skilled with the gunplay, the moment-to-moment gunplay. You could still really enjoy being a support character and droning out rooms and doing proper call-outs if you put the time to know how to do that. That all feels great. Okay, thank you so much for watching.